Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabanson, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a great show for you guys here today, but before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and sub to the channel. Be sure to follow me on Instagram. My handle is CTABANC. So I woke up this morning just looking for what to talk about here, and I came across a pretty interesting video from a channel that's a friend to our channel. The name of the channel is called GOAT Debate Media. Those guys are doing an excellent job over there, and these are real basketball guys. Like, these are real basketball guys. You got coaches over there. Like, these are real basketball guys, and they really give some in-depth analysis on some of the things that they talk about. I think they definitely have a LeBron guy up there. He's not there. He wasn't there in this episode. You have the moderator, and you have another guy. I think it's Coach Jay. He's I wouldn't say he's a Jordan or Kobe guy. I just think that he's anti-LeBron. I don't know exactly who he regards as the best player or the best players of all time. So they had a show, and it says LeBron versus Jordan. His shocking statement says it all. And we did a show because they were talking about LeBron James 90s players comments that he did on the Mind the Game podcast. I think he also had Kevin Durant there as well. Steve Nash was just the sounding board, as he usually is. So we did a show about that, and I went off reacting to what LeBron James had to say. I thought his comments were absolutely disgusting, given the fact that the player that made him want to play basketball played in the 80s and the 90s, and the people that came before him in the 80s and the 90s and beyond are the reason why he's a billionaire today. Because had they not built the foundation, there wouldn't be any opportunity for these guys to be making the money that they're making. And that's one of the reasons why I was absolutely upset. I'm like, how can you have a player of his caliber trashing his own league? It's just absolutely disgusting. I've never seen Jordan do it. I've never seen Kobe do it. But here comes LeBron James being classless and doing something like that. So I let my feelings be known. So I'm watching their show, and I suggest you guys go subscribe to their channel because they have some really good content. And they got to the point where they played that sound, which we already played for you guys. You guys have already heard. And then they get into this part about, if the 90s players were so bad and we're done with the 90s, how come so many 90s players have dominated you in your NBA career? And I was like, well, damn, I never thought about that. So for those of you who didn't hear their comments, take a listen to what they had to say here, and I'm going to come back and react to what they said. Take a listen to that there.
So now, a lot of people may say, well, man, that was innocent. That wasn't too much. You know, he just simply said we done with the 90s. But I believe there's underlying tones to everything. Coach J.O., I think when you say something like, for example, let's say you're on social media and let's say somebody they're talking about you, Coach J.O. Hey, Coach J.O., he's a crappy coach, this and that. If I hit the like button, that's me showing that I agree with it, is it not? Right. Or am I making this up? Or Coach Scott, they were like, hey, Coach Scott can't coach. And if I hit the like button, people speak through social media. People speak through these type of things, right? And so for you to say we done with the 90s, knowing what that really means and knowing the level of disrespect it had for the players that came before you, paved the way for you, actually the players who actually paved the way so you can be a billionaire. To say we done with the 90s is at a level of disrespect that I just can't really wrap around my brain. What about you, Coach J?
Well, initially hearing it, I thought it was jovial. You know, I thought LeBron was just saying, oh, we done with the 90s or whatever, right? And listening to it more and seeing the comments in the comments board, most people feel like you feel. Hey, this was LeBron being passive aggressive as he normally is, right? Now, LeBron James knows, as you stated, that whatever he says, his fans will gravitate to it. He understands that.
Yeah.
All right. He'll throw something out there. He'll post something on social media. He'll say this, say that. And then when fans react, he says they're overreacting. Hey, go find something to do. Hey, it's the 4th of July. Go find a plate. Whatever he might say. Okay. Now, but Kevin Durant, I don't know if Kevin Durant kind of corrected him. He said the 90s bled over to the early 2000s. You know who played in the early 2000s? LeBron James.
Correct.
Okay. So what are you actually saying, LeBron? What are you actually saying? Because those same players that they say we're done with the 90s was the same players that were kicking your butt. Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Jason Kidd. They were kicking your butt.
JJ Barrera, the Jet.
Dirk Nowitzki. They were kicking your butt.
All from the 90s.
All from the 90s. Okay? Look at all the top 75 players. Most of those are played in the 90s. Majority of those guys played in the 90s.
Coach, so what gets me? You know what gets me really quickly? And Coach got to go in as well. When they talk about like the 90s or even the 80s as if they were just such a crappy era of basketball, like players are bigger, stronger, faster now. What I can't understand is why is it that the two best players in the league right now look like they're from what? The 80s, right? Luka and Joker are not the fastest players. They're not the quickest players, but they are fundamentally more sound than a lot of other players you see.
Even SGA looked like early 2090 players. He's not super athletic.
Right.
So you heard what they had to say. Folks, that's a very good point they bring up. If players from the 90s were so bad and the era was so bad, why were you getting dominated by players from that era? Players like Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Steve Nash, who he's up there disgracing himself. Kobe's from the 90s. AI is from the 90s. Tim Duncan, LeBron know who that is. Manu Ginobili, he definitely know who that is. So if they're so bad, how come you didn't make quick work of them? Pumpkin? If they're so bad and they're an era of players to laugh, you have an amalgamation of talent in the 90s that's worth laughing and clowning, how come you couldn't make quick work of them? I'm confused. I mean, you got guys all the way in the 2000s you play with. You play with Kyrie. You play with Dwayne Wade. You play with Kevin Love. You play with Anthony Davis. How come you couldn't make quick work of them? Another question is worth bringing up. The guy that's been knocking you out of the playoffs for the last God knows how many years now in the Western Conference, what kind of playing style does he have? Isn't Nikola Jokic a traditional big that can really stretch the floor and has great playmaking? But isn't he traditional big? You know, players like Hakeem Olajuwon and all of them, they were from the 80s and 90s, right? You know that, right? How come you can't beat him? How come you can't beat him? How come some of the best players in the world we regard today are players in the 90s? Are reminiscent of players in the 90s? As Anthony Edwards. Oh, man, is he Michael Jordan? Well, when did Michael Jordan play? The 1600s? When did he play? What about Luka? Midi, all of that stuff? Like a Paul Pierce kind of guy. What kind of players do you remind you of? SGA, man, he remind me of Kobe. What eon did Kobe play in? I'm confused. I'm absolutely confused. So you're laughing at players in the 90s, but they whoop your head, boy. They whooped your head, boy. Do you realize since you've been in the NBA, players from the 90s got more rings than you? Kobe got more rings than you. He from the 90s, my boy. Shaq got more rings than you. Oh, guys, many rings. He from the 90s, boy. Tim Duncan Spurs. They have 5 rings, man. 5 rings, bro. 5 of them. Like, what are we talking about right now? So these guys bring up a very good point. If players from the 90s were not good, and it's a weak era, well, how come LeBron didn't do a thing? I mean, he certainly had enough help. It's not like as if he didn't have enough help. He certainly had enough help. There's no question about that. And we could make a succinct argument for LeBron James having the most help of any star player in the history of basketball. We could literally do that. If we began to list off the players that LeBron has played with, we would be here till tomorrow. We'll be here till tomorrow. Kobe Bryant played like a 90 player. How come if the 90s players can't play well, how come he was able to win championships? While you were in the league? How did Kobe do that? The second best player on this team, he was a post up back to the basket traditional big in Pau Gasol. How did he do it? Pau Gasol wasn't stretching the floor and hitting threes. He could hit a mid-range jumper, a 17 footer. Yes, he could. But he wasn't stretching the floor like that. I'm confused, my boy. I'm confused. You had the triangle offense that won 5 championships with the Lakers, 6 with the Bulls. But I thought the 90s were trash. So how come they have so many championships with that offense? Draymond Green is talking about, oh, we would beat the Chicago Bulls. That offense has 11 rings. How many rings does the Warriors have? Waiting. These dudes is easy, man. They easy work. They're easy to beat. They're very, very easy to beat. We even sat back and listened to the Mind the Game podcast. They're talking about how you're unguardable. Do you know what? If you have a mid-range game, you're damn impossible to guard. Where was the mid-range popular? Aren't they trying to get rid of it in today's game? I thought those guys their play style is archaic. These are the guys we arguing with, bro. These are the guys that we're arguing with. These LeBron guys and Honey is like 5 and 6, man. They always together. They're like 5 and 6. LeBron fans and foolishness, 5 and 6. They never go anywhere without each other. This is who we debating.